This is the least expensive gaming PC that I've ever reviewed, and honestly, for some of you, it might be all you need. Sitting at about $800, it's one of the most reviewed PCs with one of the highest ratings at Best Buy. This is my full, honest, and unbiased review of the CyberPowerPC Gamer Master Edition. In this video, I'm going to show you our fun unboxing, take you through some very thorough benchmarks, give you my take on the design and build quality, internals, thermals, fan noise, overall ease of use, and my top pros and cons. This very inexpensive $800 model that I'm reviewing for you today includes an AMD Ryzen 5 5500 processor and an AMD Radeon 6500 XT GPU. There is a lot to say about this computer, but I am confident to say that by the end of this video, you will know if this computer is right for you or not. But if you still have any questions after watching this entire video, just shoot me a comment, and if you're publicly subscribed, I guarantee a personal response. But first, let's jump back to about a week ago and check out the unboxing. Got a small little baggie in here. CyberPowerPC. Important, read this first. Got instructions for the packing foam removal, your connectivity for your display and your peripherals, and then how to power on the system. I appreciate that. And then we got 1 month of Xbox Game Pass. That's pretty cool. Insert USB key to begin. Leave a review and get a free $10 Amazon gift card. And then we just got a power cable and some massive Wi-Fi antennas. Then we got a small box, which is probably our keyboard, a Nohi LED keyboard. A pretty standard CyberPowerPC membrane gaming keyboard. Keys feel pretty nice. Looks like we got a little bit of RGB on it too. A handy little volume scroll wheel. I'm gonna adjust that volume like a boss. Deep down in there, we've got our mouse. Pretty much the exact same mouse as the other more expensive CyberPowerPCs. The actual clicks in the scroll wheel feel pretty standard. That's honestly a beautiful case for how inexpensive this is. Design-wise, I'm actually pretty impressed considering how inexpensive this PC is. The front panel grille is made up of a pretty cool 3D parquet design that offers a decent amount of airflow for the two 120mm RGB intake fans peeking through. Flipping around to the side, we've got this nice thin accent strip of RGB right here at the bottom of this massive glass panel that shows off all of the internals. This is all illuminated by our four 120mm RGB fans with two identical intake fans on the front with a matching exhaust fan on the back, and one fan all by itself on the CPU cooler. To the right of that, we've got a single 8GB stick of 3200 MHz T-Force Vulcan Z DDR4 RAM. Underneath that, our 500GB Western Digital solid state drive, which is our main drive that our operating system and everything else is stored on. We've also got a slot for a secondary additional one here on the bottom. And above that, the largest part of this machine, our AMD 6500 XT GPU with 4GB of video RAM. Nothing too special. Definitely not the fanciest GPU by any means, but I mean, what do you expect for an $800 gaming PC? And there in the back behind our GPU is our Wi-Fi card, and then at the very bottom underneath this large panel is our 600 watt power supply. And removing the back panel on the other side reveals the back of the CPU, some intense cable management, as well as expansion bays for a few more 2.5-inch hard drives. Now for your ports, on the top we've got a headphone and microphone jack, two USB 3.0 ports, your RGB color button for switching between different solid colors, and your RGB mode button for cycling through all the different RGB animations. On the back, we've got our two massive antennas for Wi-Fi, sandwiched in between four USB 2.0 ports, an HDMI port, USB-C and USB-A sleep and charge ports, two more USB 3.0 ports, and an Ethernet jack. And then for the audio ports, a microphone, line in and line out. And then on the back of your GPU, just one display port and one HDMI port. Now you may be wondering, how well does this $800 $100 machine fare next to the computers in the more mid-range tier above it. While pre-builts that are stacked with a bit more powerful specs like its older, more jacked brother, the CyberPowerPC Gamer Extreme with an i7 and a 3060 Ti, and this iBUYPOWER SlateMESH with an i7 and 3060 go for about $500 more than this at $1,300 as of this recording. Keep in mind though that pricing is subject to change based on demand and availability, so make sure to check out my links down below for the most up-to-date pricing. And for just $80 more, you could also get the popular Skytech Chronos with a more powerful 3070 GPU, which honestly I think is worth it. But the price to performance ratio is what really matters, and we'll get to those benchmarks here in a sec. Now for those that would like to fine-tune the performance of this machine and possibly do some overclocking, there's not much that you can do within Windows, but you do have a little bit of control within the BIOS. This is accessible by hitting the delete button when the computer is turning on. Here you can overclock your RAM, push your CPU a little bit harder, and adjust your fan profiles, or set their speeds manually. I advise you to be careful with these settings though, and only mess with them if you really know what you're doing. Sound quality. As you can expect, the sound card on a budget PC like this one did not produce that high quality of sound. If you're going to be doing any gaming or editing, then I recommend USB headphones like the ones that I have, which are the SteelSeries Arctis Pro. They sound fantastic. You get great feedback of your own voice and what it sounds like to everyone else, which is pretty crisp. Usually when you have loud gaming music and sound effects in your ears, you're gonna feel like you have to shout to hear your own voice. Not with these headphones. And for me personally, wireless headphones just really aren't an option, as there's always a loss in audio quality when you're using Bluetooth, and the slight delay between what I see and what I hear in gaming just kind of bugs me a little. Now when it came to the fan noise, it was actually very similar to the other machines that I've tested. In quiet mode, it was sitting at around 43 decibels. And when moving up to performance mode, it brought the fan noise up to about 45 decibels. And when pushing all the fans to their absolute max at full speed, we got just under 49 decibels. The main difference with this computer though is that technically you can run games in silent mode, and that's because of the incredibly low temperatures. You can see in our thermal imaging tests, as we rotate in past our two intake fans, we've got a fairly cool chassis internally. The hottest it gets is about 123 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see a lot of heat radiating off of the processor right there above the CPU air cooler, and definitely around the heatsink areas on the side of the GPU. A lot of that heat gets sucked out this main exhaust fan, but we still get a lot of heat coming out the top as well. And removing the back panel shows that behind our motherboard, temperatures are pretty moderate there as well. I also spent days of extensive testing in gaming as well. These were our CPU temps for 6 different games at 1080p. For this being the least powerful CPU that I've tested in a pre-built so far, I expected it to not be as hot as the others, which was the case for the most part, but surprisingly the i7 for the Corsair Vengeance i7-300 was actually cooler than this Ryzen 5 processor. That machine did have much better cooling though, with a lot more fans. When I tested out the GPU though, that was way cooler than anything else that I've ever tested. Most of them are usually in the 70s for maxed out 1080p gaming, but this one crossed over into the 50s in some games. But the most important part of this review, performance and gaming benchmarks. For Geekbench 5, we got a single core score of 1412 and a multi-core score of 6217. Not far behind the others in the single core, but almost half that of the mid-range machines with i7s and Ryzen 7s with their 3060 Ti GPUs. And almost a third of the score when we compared it to the super powerful Skytech Prism 2 with an i9 and 3090 GPU. For Cinebench R23, which simulates its 3D rendering power, we got a multi-core score of 9849 and a single core score of 1355. Kind of starting to see a trend here. Now V-Ray is one of the most popular 3D rendering softwares, and with their benchmark, we got a performance score of 7104. Again, about half that of what its more powerful, stronger brother, the CyberPowerPC Gamer Extreme series with an i7 and 3060 Ti could do. And here's a few more bonus Puget benchmarks for all the creatives out there. For Adobe Premiere 271, Adobe Photoshop 634, and DaVinci Resolve 760. The difference demonstrated here between this and the more expensive PCs was accurately mirrored in actual export times as well. So opting for a budget PC like this one will take you about 6 times longer when rendering a 4K or 1080p edit in Adobe Premiere and DaVinci Resolve. Doubling the RAM from 8GB to 16GB shaved about a minute off of those export times, but what it helped the most with was actual scrubbing within the timeline. The 1080p edit was smooth even before adding the extra RAM, but 4K scrubbing was much smoother after the upgrade. For the main drive, the SSD that everything is stored on, I got speeds of 3.6 gigabits read and 2.4 gigabits write, which is honestly on the slower end of solid state drives, but surprisingly 1 gigabits per second faster than what I got with the more expensive HP Omen 25L. Gaming benchmarks are what a lot of you care the most about though. Now for 3D Mark, which is a benchmark that tests both the CPU and the GPU for its overall gameability, we got an overall score of 5,112, a graphics score of 4,926, and a CPU score of 6,514. Less than half that of the scores of the i7 3060 Ti machines, and almost 1/4 of the score of the more popular maxed out Skytech Prism 2 that we reviewed. Now for actual gameplay, my first few tests, I maxed out all of the settings that I usually do with my more powerful pre-builds just to compare. Don't be too discouraged though, because I'll show you multiple quality settings that'll give you much better results. These were our average FPS results that we got for several games at their highest preset settings in HD. You can see where it stands compared to the other higher end but more expensive machines that I've tested here, significantly lower. Fortunately, most games could still reach that standard 60 FPS that we really want for smooth gameplay when we used max graphic settings. That's kind of the minimum standard if you want smooth gameplay. And this side-by-side comparison shows the difference in quality as you downgrade the settings. Same thing here in Forza, which is a game that definitely benefits from smoother frame rates, considering racing games usually feel a little choppy and stroby when they don't have high enough FPS. Witcher 3, Warzone, Doom, and Fortnite also had a very pleasing boost in frames per second when we downgraded the graphics settings. Most likely medium is going to be the best balance for you when it comes to overall graphics and gameplay experience. And I saw just a little over a 3% boost when doubling the RAM from 8GB to 16GB. I'll include links below for compatible RAM that I recommend with this build. If you've got a VR headset and you're looking for a PC that can handle PC VR games well and give you a nice little upgrade in graphics, I'd say save your money because this machine did have a pretty low VR Mark score, just a little over 8,000 points. You can see for about $500 more, you can get a machine that's almost twice as good as that with a score of almost double that. But if you're not looking for better graphics and you just want to have access to PC VR games and not be stuck with just the mobile games that the MetaQuest 2 comes with, then this just may be worth it for you. Pros and cons. My overall top reasons you should not get this computer. Number one is that performance. As you can see in pretty much all of the performance tests, it did struggle with both gaming and creative software. Although you could argue that at least it was able to handle them at all, considering how inexpensive it is. And number two is the graphics. Now, this kind of falls in line with performance, but I have to mention if you really can't stand dropping quality settings to get a more playable frame rate, then this is not the computer for you. Now, my overall top reasons to buy this computer. Number one is that price. For many of you, $800 may be all that's in the budget for a gaming PC. It sure is better than nothing, and there's still quite a bit that you can do with it if you don't need the best looking graphics or the best frame rates. And number two is that design. For being a lower end machine, the overall design actually looks very similar to a more expensive build and could actually fool your friends who might not know any better that you've got a cooler machine than you actually do. You could always just upgrade your GPU later and just fake it till you make it. And number three were those thermals. I was very pleased with the temperatures here. You definitely don't have to worry about this computer getting too hot or thermal throttling. Overall, for those of you who are casual gamers or just pinching pennies, this isn't a horrible option. But if you can possibly squeeze $400 to $500 more for one of those mid-tier computers that I compared it to, then I think you'll be quite a bit more happy with one of those. You might just wait a little bit and save your money until you can afford a higher end one if you can. Just think of it like an investment because those are going to last you a bit longer before you need another one. Now, if you do decide to purchase this computer or one of the others that I compare it to, then I would really appreciate it if you use my affiliate links in the comments and description below, as I get a small commission and no cost to you for every single purchase made. And it's a major factor in keeping this channel going and getting better and better for you. I'd also like to personally thank my members for their monthly contribution to this channel. Every little bit helps. And remember, every week I do a giveaway that randomly selects someone who's interacted with this channel or filled out the form in the description. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications turned on to stay up to date with that, as well as staying up to date with all of my latest gaming PCs. And the winner for this week is
Papa Bear.
Thanks for watching, guys. I love you guys. God bless.